Welcome back. Just wanted to give a quick update on this Acer Spire 1 netbook that we've been playing around with for the last few days. Before I go any further, I want to say stay tuned to the end of this video. There's actually some bonus footage for an event that happened here in my park that I figured you guys would really like to see, but it wasn't enough to do a whole video on. So back to the netbook. You may have remembered that I said I wanted to put Ubuntu onto it, and I said that while it did run off the USB stick, it wasn't the speediest thing, and I mentioned that I was going to try loading it onto the hard drive, and then we had the whole black screen of death thing happen, and that's where I basically left it. We got it working with the bake in the oven method, which is very unconventional, but it did work. And while it's not a long-term thing, it may die any day on me. It's been running fine constantly for the past few days, just here on my desk, just playing around with it. So what I did was I actually downloaded the Windows 7 starter ISO file, used Rufus to burn that to the USB stick, reloaded it into the computer, reloaded all the drivers onto it, put it through some tests, everything ran great. And then I got greeted with a wonderful blue screen that said, hey, you're running an old version of Windows 7. You may want to consider upgrading to Windows 10, which I did consider. I didn't do, but I did consider it. And it turns out that the computer was actually running just basic Windows 7 starter. No Service Pack 1 or anything newer than that. So I said, well, it'd probably be a good idea to download the Windows 7 SP1 ISO file, and using, again, Rufus to put that to the USB stick. We plugged it in, upgraded everything, and it worked fine, but it ran slower than it did when I just got the clean installation on it. And that makes sense because there's more stuff running, you know, all the little security updates and stuff like that. And who knows, you know, the way Microsoft is, especially with Windows 10, there may be some things that are bogging this down because it's sending information someplace, but that's a story for another time. I did notice though that the memory usage was like 93%, which is crazy. And one process, which was just a one of these service hosts, was running at like 350 megabytes out of the 1 gigabyte, which is quite a bit. So I definitely have to put a 2 gig chip in this if I want to play with Windows any further. But then I said, you know what, let me try putting Ubuntu onto it. After all, I did try that with the stick. It ran fine, but I really want to run it on the hard drive. And while I went ahead and did that, and I have to say it does run pretty darn good. But right now you can see it does have a black screen. This is because I actually have my KVM switch hooked up to it. And I'm just going to move the camera over to the other monitor because it's just a little bit easier to show. And here we are on the desktop. You can see I put some different programs on here, like Inkscape, which is a vector graphics editor, and GIMP, which is an image editor. Now I use both of these programs on my Windows PC, so I can get an idea of how well this machine works or not. Now you can see there's a program called OpenTTD, that stands for Open Transport Tycoon Deluxe, which is an old DOS game that they've recently redid as an open source kind of program and added some changes to it. And of course it's now a multi-platform system. I've already played the Windows version of this, so putting it on this computer is just yet another thing to test it out with. And of course you have LibreOffice and Firefox and some other things already installed. And I have to say, it's not bad. It does quite well for a 1 gigabit worth of memory and a 1.66 gigahertz processor. It is a dual core, but you know, it's not bad. Of course, you know, I'm not running it on my high-end Core i7 machine behind me here, but you know, it does fit the bill. And I can go in here, and I'm not going to show you how to use GIMP, of course, but it does seem like it runs pretty well, and certainly a lot better than it did for Windows. Well, I just wanted to give that quick little update, you know, because people were asking how it's running. And I'm probably going to run some kind of burn-in software on this, and just to keep the computer running, just to make sure we don't have any temperature issues. After all, that's probably what caused the main issue that we had when we had the bake in the oven. That was a reflow process that we did. I'm not expecting this to last a long time, and people tell me you probably shouldn't spend much time on it. And they're right, but you know what? I'm a geek. I love playing with these machines, and of course it's a lot of fun. So we'll keep playing along with this. Perhaps I'll get myself some RAM in. I've been saying I'm going to do that. I do have some things I'm going to be ordering hopefully soon when I get some cash in hand on eBay to fulfill some other projects' needs that we have here. But anyway, about that special extra footage. So yesterday there was a post on Facebook that the Blue Angels, specifically number 7 and number 8, were going to be coming to Stewart Airport, which is just right across the street from here. Stewart Airport is an international airport, and then directly behind it is Air Base. It's actually Marine Run Air Base. And quite a few years ago, when I moved up here to Orange County, they actually had an air show there, and I've always seen these things advertised and always wanted to go to one of them. And of course, we got to go. It was a Father's Day present. I bought my dad tickets for it, and it was awesome. And the Blue Angels were there that year. And it was the most amazing thing I've seen. And we were lucky because there was actually a handicap section, and my dad had a cane, and of course he does have handicap privileges, I guess you could say. And we were able to go in there and watch the show pretty close to the runway, and it was like mind-blowing. And last year they had the Thunderbirds, which is the Army's version of the Blue Angels, essentially. And while the show was amazing, we didn't get to go, but I didn't really need to. I could just sit out on my front lawn and watch them overhead. I'm that close. So when I heard that the Blue Angels were coming by this past day, I was pretty excited. And it turns out it was number 7 and number 8 because they were having a meeting, and they wanted to go over the details of the upcoming show, which is going to be July 1st and July 2nd, which is a Saturday and Sunday. And of course, you know, I was just farting around in the house, and I looked at the clock and says, oh, it's 2 o'clock. Let me go out with the tripod, set it up just in case I can get some footage. Well, around 2:45, a jet flew overhead. I could hear it coming. I ran to the camera. I hit the record button, and I got just enough of it to fly over the open sky that I had, and it went off into the distance. And that was it. It landed, and number 8 came in from another direction, so I wasn't able to see that. Didn't even hear it, honestly. And I sat out there for an hour. I was doing yard work too, but I sat out there with the camera for an hour and was expecting something else to happen, and it didn't happen. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next video.